Once upon a time, in a forest where the trees whispered secrets to the wind and the streams hummed gentle songs, there stood a cottage unlike any other. It was not large or grand, yet it held something more precious than size or gold. It held the warmth of a family. This was the home of three bears: Papa Bear, with his deep rumbling laugh and broad shoulders; Mama Bear, with her soft voice and watchful eyes; and Little Bear, small, bright-eyed, and full of questions about everything under the sun. The three bears lived in harmony with the forest. They cared for the trees, shared berries with the birds, and never forgot to thank the earth for what it gave them. Every morning, they began their day with porridge, warm and hearty, made with oats, milk, and a drizzle of honey collected from hives near the river. It was a ritual of comfort, one that reminded them of home and family. One cool morning, they prepared their bowls early, eager to enjoy breakfast together. But the porridge bubbled so hot that even Papa Bear's strong tongue could not bear it. "Too hot," he rumbled, shaking his head. Mama Bear smiled softly. "We'll let it cool," she suggested. "Why not take a walk in the forest while we wait?" Little Bear clapped his paws with excitement. "Yes, maybe we'll see the woodpecker again, or the family of rabbits." And so, leaving their bowls on the wooden table, the three bears stepped outside, closing the door gently behind them. The forest was alive with morning light. Dewdrops sparkled on the grass like tiny jewels, and birds fluttered from branch to branch, their songs weaving together in a cheerful chorus. Papa Bear led the way with steady steps, Mama Bear gathered wildflowers along the path, and Little Bear skipped ahead, chasing the flutter of butterflies. They laughed together, completely unaware that, at that very moment, someone else was wandering closer to their home. Not far from the cottage, a little girl was exploring the woods. Her name was Goldilocks. Her hair shimmered like strands of sunlight, golden and bright, and her eyes were wide with curiosity. Goldilocks loved the forest, though she was often warned not to stray too far. But her heart was adventurous, and her steps often carried her where her thoughts drifted. That morning, she had followed the song of a robin deeper and deeper into the woods until she found herself in a place she had never seen before. After a while, Goldilocks began to feel tired. Her legs ached from walking, and her tummy rumbled with hunger. She looked around, wondering if she should turn back. Just then, through the trees, she noticed a curl of smoke rising into the sky. She followed it, curious and hopeful, until she came upon the most charming little cottage she had ever seen. The chimney puffed gently, the windows gleamed with sunlight, and flowers bloomed along the path to the door. Goldilocks hesitated. "Who lives here?" she whispered to herself. She stepped closer, drawn by the delicious smell drifting from inside, warm, sweet, and comforting, like something she had only tasted in dreams. She knocked gently on the door. Knock, knock. But there was no answer. She knocked again, a little louder this time. Still silence. The forest seemed to watch her, waiting. Goldilocks placed her hand on the doorknob. It turned easily, and the door creaked open. She peeked inside. The cottage was tidy and warm, with wooden beams across the ceiling, a fire crackling in the hearth, and jars of honey lined neatly on a shelf. Most inviting of all, on the table stood 3 bowls of porridge, steam curling above them like ribbons of mist. Her stomach grumbled again. Goldilocks knew she shouldn't enter without being invited, but the smell was so good, and her hunger so strong, that her curiosity nudged her forward. She stepped inside, the floor creaking beneath her light steps, and closed the door softly behind her. She went to the table and looked at the 3 bowls. The first was very large. She picked up the spoon, dipped it into the porridge, and tasted it. "Oh," she gasped, fanning her mouth. "Too hot." She put it back quickly. Then she tried the second bowl, which was smaller. The porridge inside was cool and lumpy. She wrinkled her nose. "Too cold." Then her eyes fell on the 3rd bowl, the smallest of all. She tasted it, and her eyes lit up. She sighed happily. Just right. And before she knew it, she had eaten every last spoonful. Her hunger gone, Goldilocks wandered further into the cottage. By the fireplace were 3 chairs. She tried the largest one first, but it was too hard and tall, her feet dangling far above the ground. She tried the second, softer and cushioned, but it was too wide, and she sank into it uncomfortably. Then she sat in the smallest chair. "Ah," she said, smiling. "Just right." She wiggled with delight, rocking side to side. But she rocked too much, and with a sudden crack, the little chair broke beneath her. Goldilocks jumped up, startled. "Oh no," she whispered. "I didn't mean to." She looked sadly at the broken chair, but her curiosity pulled her onward. She tiptoed up the stairs and found a bedroom with 3 beds. The first was very large, with thick blankets tucked neatly, but when she lay down, it was far too hard. She tried the second, softer and smelling faintly of wildflowers, but it was so soft that she sank too deeply. Finally, she climbed into the smallest bed. It was warm, snug, and gentle, the kind of bed that seemed to welcome her like a hug. Goldilocks' eyes grew heavy, and before long, she drifted into sleep. Meanwhile, the 3 bears had finished their stroll through the forest. They returned along the winding path, carrying flowers and stories. Papa Bear told Little Bear about the time he saw a fox dance across the meadow, Mama Bear hummed a song she had heard the birds sing, and Little Bear chattered about the rabbit burrow he had spotted. Their laughter carried through the trees as they reached their cottage. Papa Bear was the first to notice something unusual. His deep voice rumbled as he looked at the table. "Someone has been eating my porridge," he said. Mama Bear stepped closer, her gentle eyes widening as she saw her own bowl disturbed. "Someone has been eating my porridge too." Little Bear scrambled to his chair and cried, "Someone has eaten all of my porridge." His little voice trembled with surprise. They went into the sitting room, and Papa Bear frowned at his large chair. "Someone has been sitting in my chair." Mama Bear gasped softly. "Someone has been sitting in mine as well." Then Little Bear pointed with wide eyes at his broken chair. "Someone has been sitting in my chair, and they've broken it." Up the stairs they went, their paws silent on the steps. In the bedroom, Papa Bear growled, "Someone has been lying in my bed." Mama Bear touched her own rumpled blanket. "Someone has been lying in my bed too." Then Little Bear tiptoed to his bed and gasped, "Someone has been lying in my bed, and she's still here." Goldilocks stirred and blinked awake. She opened her eyes to see 3 bears standing around her. Her heart leapt in fright, and she scrambled to sit up. Papa Bear's tall shadow loomed. Mama Bear's eyes studied her carefully, and Little Bear's mouth hung open. For a moment, Goldilocks was too frightened to speak. Then, in a trembling voice, she whispered, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean any harm. I was hungry and tired, and I found your door open." The forest seemed to hold its breath. Papa Bear crossed his arms, looking serious. Mama Bear tilted her head, noticing the girl's frightened eyes. Little Bear tugged at his mother's paw and said, "She looks sorry." Goldilocks lowered her head. "I should not have entered without asking. I should not have touched what was not mine. I understand if you are angry." For a long moment, silence lingered. Then Mama Bear knelt down, her voice gentle. "Child, you made a mistake, but mistakes can teach us if we listen. You must always remember that entering a home without permission is not safe for you or for those who live there." Goldilocks nodded quickly, tears brimming. "I promise I will remember." Little Bear stepped closer, his small face breaking into a smile. "You can still stay for porridge. We can share." Papa Bear let out a slow breath, his stern expression softening. "You must be careful, young one. But since you are sorry, we forgive you." Relief flooded Goldilocks' heart. She smiled for the first time, and when they all went downstairs together, Mama Bear made her a fresh bowl of porridge. They sat at the table, 3 bears and 1 girl, and shared breakfast as though they had always been friends. From that day on, Goldilocks often visited the bears, but always with a polite knock at the door and a smile on her face. She and Little Bear became close friends, playing in the meadows, telling stories by the fire, and exploring the gentle mysteries of the forest. And though her golden hair still shimmered like the sun and her curiosity still led her into adventures, Goldilocks had learned the value of kindness, respect, and friendship. And so, in the little cottage in the Whispering Woods, the bears and their unexpected friend lived on, teaching each other lessons, sharing meals, and filling the forest with laughter and love.